Okay, hi everybody. This first video for Silkscreen Printing is about your sketches. So this is one of the prints we made the other day, and I'm using this as an example of my first sketch and some feedback that I would give you on that sketch. These sketches, we need to be conscious about placement and arrangement and density. Think about, even if you were designing a poster, you wouldn't want all the words to be the same size, the same color, or the same spacing. And on the flip side of that, you wouldn't want to have every single color in the rainbow, because if there's no repetition, it would be a little bit overwhelming. And if all your words were just kind of all over the place, different sizes. The same thing goes creating visual hierarchy in an image-based piece. So what I'm going to do right now, I've got my color palette here. I'm going to use the same elements, but I'm just going to place them differently and incorporate maybe a little bit more repetition. So for this first one, I'm going to use this element in the top right corner a couple of times. My green marker is a little bit more vibrant than I wanted, but that's okay. I'm going to do something where maybe I have a little bit of implied line. So instead of it being this like round form that pushes our eyes this way, it's going to actually, and I'm going to pull it around this one to kind of connect those. So I'm going to have this mark making move sort of in a linear fashion. And this is just a visual representation of what looks very much like wood grain, in my opinion. This element here that is in the top right corner, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller and maybe a little bit more compact to pull that together. And so what I'm doing here, in the original, these two are spaced apart. And in the new sketch, I'm starting to group elements together and aspects together. Now the fun intestines. This movement goes like this. So I feel like something kind of like this, but this right here cuts right through the middle of the page, and that's going to make the composition want to be symmetrical. So I want to avoid that if I can. So I'm going to see if I can make it a little bit more asymmetrical. I'm going to repeat these forms here, but I'm going to make them bigger, and I'm going to crop them off the page and see what that does compositionally. My cropped intestines. Probably better in your sketches than having something like that in real life. That doesn't sound very fun. Anyway, so there's one, and in the original, we've already got a little bit of grouping. We've got these two elements sort of working together through proximity and a little bit of symmetry. I'm going to continue that, but I'm going to change up the placement just a little bit to where, I'm going to have it crop just barely. And again, I'm right there in the middle of the page again. I don't want that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it out a little bit further and then add another one that might lead our eyes back to here, to that beginning point. All right. So those are my two main elements. I need some backup singers. Those are the lead singers. So I'm going to nestle this purple element that was here and is here. I'm going to nestle that down in this little nook. I could put it behind, but I'm going to go with nooks and crannies on this one. And I'm going to try to make these two kind of similar, maybe use some of the detailing in this one on this to make them feel like they belong together. So let's see. Maybe it's just like this. And then the similar repeating element are these circular forms that I see showing up in the top right corners. It could even be these little lines moving around the space. And then I can maybe, since this has this in the middle, I could do something like this in the middle. I don't know that I am super happy with that aspect. So I may give myself the freedom to change that later. Now, one thing that's happening in the first composition that I think is useful is we've got a lot of curvilinear forms. The only one that really stands out as different is this one. We've got this background element as a curve, 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 curve. So I think that I'm going to stick with that in this and just eliminate this for this refined sketch in terms of using elements that feel like they belong. So what I'm going to do here, this is a yellow, but I'm imagining in my mind this is a representation of maybe of a dull yellow, just maybe just barely, it could be like barely stippled on the page mark making, something like that. In the original there that I used as an inspiration for my sketches, that was me using the, doing a rubbing of lace on the screen to create that print when we did that in class the other day. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this being exactly the same size, so I think what I'm going to do is pull this way so that this implied line cuts through the form, and that cuts through the form as well. And I'm trying to decide where I want it to go here. There's a lot of visual weight here. There's a lot of visual weight here, and I kind of need some more visual weight here. So I think what I'm going to do before I finish that out potentially is consider, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this, a blue intestine. Not like blue oyster cult, blue intestines. So depending on how solid these forms become, like the more details I place on this surface, it's going to increase the visual weight. So if I need some more visual weight, I can just have, you know, a heavier application of material. I could potentially use, you know, accents of darker colors. I don't know. I don't think I like that though. I think I prefer the just solid blue. So I'm going to put here a little note for myself that says no green, sad face. And so from there, you know, I can just throw that on there. You know, maybe my dots do get bigger as they go across. That can also help with visual weight. I would say that this is a detailed sketch. You know, there's still some elements that would need to be sussed out, but I would do that when working on the actual screen. And from here, I would go and start another sketch. So I wouldn't consider this necessarily a super detailed sketch because it's still kind of gestural. I would, you know, this is kind of my representation of that, but I would say something like this. And it looks like I've been working on this for about 5 minutes. So from there, I would just create 2 more sketches, making sure that, the elements are being rearranged. So what I want you all to do in class today is take your 3 detailed sketches that you have and work on those and make a 4th one that you're going back and maybe you might be picking parts out of multiples and putting them together, or you might say like, well, you know what, Megan, yeah, my stuff is equally spaced. It's equally sized. So I'm going to explore repetition more in the next one. I'm going to explore size variation. I'm going to explore continuity and implied line, or, you know, maybe it's too monotonous and it's too repetitious, too boring. And so you're going to add variety by, you know, different colors, or maybe, you know, you change the size but keep the colors the same. So I hope this helps. When you're finished, on the forum that I have on Moodle, I want you to take a good picture of all 3 of your sketches and post them to the Moodle forum, as well as your 4th like master sketch that's going to be your plan for the project. I'll be back shortly with another video. Thanks.